effect on your relationships, your energy level, and how you feel as a man. So I want to tell you about Revive Men's Health. With a range of non-invasive treatments that are clinically proven to effectively treat ED and low T, Revive Men's Health will create a plan tailored for you, one that works for you, because every man has a unique physical makeup. Revive Men's Health specializes in affordable custom treatments. Whether you need to raise your game at work, feel leaner and more energetic, or regain your confidence in your relationship, Revive Men's Health can help. Revive has successfully treated tens of thousands of patients, and they're ready to help you. Call Revive Men's Health at 916-277-8599 for a personalized and confidential consultation today. That's 916-277-8599. Or to learn more, visit revivemenshealth.com.
There's Pablo in his natural habitat, opening his internet bill in fear. He just saw his 12-month promotional price ended. Uh-oh, and he just discovered the equipment fees. Back away slowly.
If your internet bill drives you wild, just remember, you're not a bad person. You just need a straightforward price. Get AT&T Fiber. Unlimited internet with no price increase at 12 months. Visit att.com/no hidden fees. Limited availability in select areas.
What's the deal with the special election on September 14th? Ever since Donald Trump refused to accept that he lost the election, national Republicans have been attacking our right to vote across the country. Targeted, of course, at voters of color. Now they've got their sights set on a power grab in California, abusing the democratic process with a recall that will cost taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars, so they can derail California's progress and take our state backwards. Who's behind this power grab? Big Trump donors, big oil, and the Republican National Committee. Every California voter will get a ballot in the mail for the September 14th special election. We can't let these Trump Republicans take over our state. So vote no to protect California and our democracy. Vote no to stop the Republican recall of Governor Newsom. It's a partisan power grab. Ad paid for by Stop the Republican Recall of Governor Newsom. Committee major funding from Reed Hastings and SEIU Local 2015.
Zola, this apartment looks brand new. That bed set, new dishes, those shelves, that painting.
Never doubt the deals at DD's Discounts.
But what about...
I said never doubt the deals.
Fashion, home, gifts. Get to DD's Discounts for deals on the daily.
O'Reilly Auto Parts specializes in keeping your car on the road. Not sure how much life is left in your battery? Our professional parts people will test it for free. If it does need to be replaced, we'll help you find just the right one to fit your car. Our Superstar batteries are built to handle even the toughest conditions. Visit O'Reilly Auto Parts today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
By your neighborhood grocery outlet. This week, all-time favorite Kraft macaroni and cheese is buy two, get one free at $1.98 for 3. That's a savings of up to 56% versus traditional grocery stores. Limit 3 free. Also, stop by for Silk unsweetened almond milk. 64-ounce containers are buy one, get one free at $1.99 for 2. That's a savings of up to 75%. Offers good through August 10th.
Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports. Coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, we love you in Canada and Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys across the country, in the land of the free and the home of the beautiful and the beautiful. It is actually August the 4th, 2021. Bon to the point is bonjour. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network. I want to say to all of our good old friends, today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them that Big C sent you, as well as a fleet of Cadillac cars. Never stop arriving. Also, all around the world, just say Google or Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You will hear welcome to the show. I will introduce Big C sometimes, and sometimes I won't. And I really appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports. You can follow Big C Sports on Spotify. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. But you better have a smart TV, or you'll be sitting there looking at a still picture. Man, I love pausing, but I will never pause on our Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced. helping veterans and their loved ones get help. And that's why I love giving out that number, 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. If you know anybody going through some issues, you got to call that number. Also, you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. You can definitely get some help for our veterans and their loved ones. Also, very happy to be affiliated with Valley Homes Weekly TV on Dish TV, Direct TV, AT&T Uverse, TV 53, home of the first place San Francisco Giants. And to say, hey kid, as well as the home run king Barry Bonds, when you reach out to him, just tell him Big C sent you. Our goal is simple: recruit 10,000 real estate agents and brokers all over this great country, helping to put people back to work, just like McDonald's does it. Car dealerships doing it, sports teams are doing it. Watch TV and real estate work for you. 800-772-8624. If you're looking for opportunities in real estate, go to bigcsports.pacwm.com. Most of our loans are sponsored by Rocket Mortgage, the #1 lender in the country on the wholesale side. Also, I want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight for presenting Big C Sports to the universe, just like in Genesis 1:3. God said, let there be light. Open your cell phones and say it. Play Big C Sports Podcast. You will see all of our apps pop up from all over the world, and I really do appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports. Going to have some talk about baseball today, also some football. Going to talk about what's going on in the Olympics as the medal count is continued to increase. Also going to have a special guest on from Zoombang. They actually help provide athletes and colleges with equipment that makes it a little bit easier to get hit hard and not get knocked down. Marshawn Lynch is also one of the spokesmen using the product Zoombang with Aaron Gonzalez. We'll also have a few other people on that are going to talk about that product. So again, we're going to take what's called the Big C Pause, also known as the Big C Timeout. In the words of the great Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back. All right, we are back from the Big C Pause, also known as the Big C Timeout. I have Zoombang CEO Joe Morelli, also Aaron Gonzalez, who's also working with the company. I've known Aaron for a long time, and Zoombang is a product that they use. A lot of sports athletes are actually using that product all over the country, and they're looking to expand what they're doing. So I'm going to ask Mr. Aaron Gonzalez first to tell me about himself and how much better football is in California than it is in Texas. And then we'll go out to Joe in Arizona, and he can say how much better football is in California than it is down in Arizona. Mr. Gonzalez, how you doing, sir?
Man, I am blessed, man. I'm blessed, Charlton. Thank you for having us on Big C Sports, man. We appreciate it.
Sounds good, sounds good. So, number one, I know that you're related to the great DJ Williams. He actually played some high school football out here called De La Salle. And then he went down to Miami, I guess because he liked the heat and humidity more than the sunshine and the cool breeze of the Bay Area. All fair level more. So tell us a little bit about, why did DJ leave beautiful California for humid Florida, Aaron? Go ahead.
Well, the first reason why they gave him a full ride. So he had to pay for that wonderful education he got. Then he got on a great team with a great coach and a great staff and ended up in the first round, number 17th pick overall to the Denver Broncos. So he went from California, which is beautiful, to Miami.
Yeah.
Then he went to the frozen tundra of Denver, Colorado.
Yeah, I understand. It's always a frozen tundra in Denver, Colorado. So I appreciate always kind of rubbing shoulders with you. I know you're down there in Texas. You left California. They were trying to get Texas and Oklahoma to join the Pac-12, but I guess someone showed them highlights of the USC 55-19 beatdown of Oklahoma back in the 2004 championship game, and they said they'd try their luck in the SEC instead. Is that what happened?
You know what? You talking way beyond my pay grade.
No worries. Well, let's try to get into your pay grade. I know we talk about so many things, Aaron, and you have this great product. I know we'll have your CEO, Joe Morelli, on in a little bit. Tell us about Zoombang. I just had some guests from the Olympics over in Tokyo that were actually on the program. But the Zoombang product, you introduced it to me a while ago. It's quite amazing. Go ahead and talk about that, Aaron.
I will, man. I appreciate that. Before we bring the CEO on, I was introduced to it, because of, the DJ Williams thing. I got a football background, and I met the senior vice president, Mr. William Thompson.
Yeah.
And we struck it up really good, and they had a need for somebody to go talk to high schools and Little League.
Yeah.
And I'm in here in Texas, and, high school football is like,
it's big.
College football out here. It's
Yeah.
To compare, you ask the difference between Texas and California.
Yeah.
They take their high school football like Cal State takes care, like Cal Berkeley and Stanford. And they got $1 million stadiums, and they unified the whole thing together. So it was a perfect fit for me, and at the time it was a perfect fit for Zoombang because it's a product that the pros are wearing, the college athletes are wearing, and there's a need for it because when you think of it at the end of the day, pro football players come from college.
Yep.
College football players come from high school, so that's like the breeding ground for the whole system. So why not start protecting them when they're young? And from a business standpoint, you get them used to wearing your stuff when they're young. What are they going to want to wear when they go to college?
That's very
What are they
good.
going to want to wear when they go to the NFL?
Yeah.
So it kind of is like a product that protects them, and I'll let Joe talk more about that. I'm just telling you from what I saw from an opportunity standpoint, was a great product that had a great need in a great sport.
Yeah.
And with that said, Charlton, I'll throw it back to you, and if you have another question for me, you can, or you can go ahead and bring up the CEO.
Yeah, let me ask you one more question before I bring on your CEO. We're going to build him up he's the closer, okay? He's our closer. We're in the bottom of the ninth, and we're only up by one. Bases are loaded, so Joe's going to be the closer. Joe, I hope that's not too much pressure on you in the Game 7 of the World Series, okay, Joe? So hope you're getting that fastball ready. But I want to ask you one more thing, Mr. Gonzalez. You and I go back way, way, way back and a long time ago. You're one of the most enjoyable, honest men I've ever met. You've helped me with business. Aaron's the kind of person I could call Mr. Gonzalez with a prospect in sales, and that's all I had to do is call Mr. Gonzalez, put them on the phone with Mr. Gonzalez, and he made sure they were well taken care of. And so that's been over like almost 15 years now, Mr. Gonzalez. So that's how much of respect I have for you. And so I want to ask you one more thing before we bring in the closer. And hopefully they're going to check his glove, make sure he has nothing sticky on his glove. So hopefully he can make sure he has a clean glove before we bring him in the game, bottom of the ninth inning with the World Series. Marshawn Lynch was also featured in one of the advertisements that you sent to me. Also Frank Gore, 2 NFL players. Tell me more. Do they have an affiliation with it, or were they just one of the athletes that were actually showcasing their product? Aaron, go right ahead, sir.
I'll share with you this. The Frank Gore piece that you saw, and thank you for doing your research, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That was before Joe and I's time.
Okay.
Because the company's been around for over 20 years. I'll let Joe give you the specifics on that.
Okay.
And they went through a term with another marketing firm. Okay. And that marketing firm used Gore because he liked the product.
Yeah.
Right? It worked.
Yeah.
Right? So that's where that came from. But since we came in, back 2019, we got the attention of Marshawn Lynch. One, he was wearing it.
Yep.
Because he saw it on, the story goes that I know of, he saw it on some of his kids, his sponsors and support.
Yeah.
They liked it, so he got introduced. Besides, there was other players in the league wearing it, so he got a hold of some of it, and he loved it so much. As you can see in that article, he said, Zoombang, I'm hella excited about Zoombang, and that's how he talks.
Yeah, that's how he talks.
So he put his business hat on.
Yep.
He met with our team, and he not only is part of it as for, like you said, and what you saw, but he is now part owner.
Yeah.
And he is a very active part. Matter of fact, he's coming to town tonight. And we're going to be blessing 2 high schools with him making his presence, taking photos, and gifting them some of the Zoombang protective gear powered by Beast Mode.
Wow.
So that's it. That's how he started this thing, and I'm excited to meet with him and spend some time with him because the guy is a brilliant businessman.
Yeah, he really is. In fact, you might want to give those Zoombangs to Pete Carroll at Soften the Blow and ask Marshawn why he did not get the football on 2nd and goal from the 1-yard line in the Super Bowl. He was averaging 5 yards a carry, and they didn't trust him with 1 yard, and they threw a pass on the 1-yard line. Please make sure you ask Marshawn if he needs that Zoombang to get to Pete Carroll. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I know the story, but I've been sworn to
No worries. Well, speaking of that, I don't want to get you too far out on the limb, but I want to tell you, it's the bottom of the ninth. We're up by the score of 8-7. The bases are loaded. We need a closer to come in, so we're going to bring in the CEO of Zoombang, and hopefully he's not under pressure. There's only 56,000 at Dodger Stadium, and this good old boy is going to come in to try to close out the win. Now, he's from Arizona, so he might be a Diamondback, so we know he's not going to be in the playoffs, but maybe he was traded for the Dodgers as they acquire all the closers in baseball. But I want to bring in the great Joe Morelli as all the typewriters are going off in the LA Times. Joe Morelli, here we are, bottom of the ninth, bases loaded. We're bringing you in to win the game. Tell us about yourself. Tell us about Zoombang and why so many people in the sports universe are excited about your product. Go right ahead, sir.
Well, Charlton, first of all, can I just say I'd rather you bring in Mariano Rivera. So let's go forward from there. First of all, thank you so much for having us on Big C Sports. It's truly an honor and a privilege. I have one of the wackiest backgrounds I think that anybody has throughout their career. I've had many jobs that don't seem to link together, but some of them, at the end of the day, were necessary. Started my career early on with DuPont Chemical Company, primarily in the polymer and fibers world.
Okay.
I left DuPont to join Nike, and I spent almost 12 years at Nike, where I truly was immersed into an amazing culture, a culture of sport. Was able to do several different jobs there of increasing levels of responsibility. And then I got recruited to leave Nike to be the CEO of a smaller fashion company up in Seattle. And I did that for 8 years. I took a year off thinking it might be time to retire. But I learned that I really couldn't play golf every day like I thought I wanted to. And I went back and I became the CEO of a different consumer products company, this time in the food industry. In the process, we moved to Arizona, and I was introduced to Zoombang right around the time Aaron was. It was probably November of 2019. And I had always missed the world of sports ever since leaving Nike. It was just truly the highlight of my career. And I learned so much from the management style of Phil Knight and what he indoctrinated throughout the company, a very collaborative management style. And I was just wanting to get back into that and got introduced to Zoombang, and I saw it, and it just made complete sense. And I will say this, having moved from Seattle, obviously a huge Seahawks fan. A huge Marshawn Lynch fan. I was in the stadium when the Beastquake happened. And so when I learned that Marshawn was going to be a part of this, I thought to myself, my goodness, if you know Marshawn's running style, I can't think of a better athlete to represent Zoombang than him right there. That's a little side note.
That's a little amazing.
What is Zoombang, and why is it special? Well, it's our company, it's our brand, and it's our product. Zoombang is a non-Newtonian, shear-thickening, visco-elastic polymer. Does that explain it?
That helps still for the layman. Yes, it does.
Imagine a material that feels like a combination of Play-Doh and silly putty when it's in your hand. But when it's impacted with a force, the molecules instantaneously harden, and that force is dissipated across a larger surface area, thus lessening the impact of that blow. Once the force is removed, it feels like Play-Doh again.
Joe, let me ask you this, Joe. Let me ask you this real quick, and I want to make sure we pump up your microphone, up your volume also. So when you bring, in layman's terms, you have the technology is what you're describing, if I get you right. The technology is adding on to the impact and to lessen the impact the way the new football helmets are also designed to lessen the impact. Would that be a fair statement?
That would be a fair analogy, yeah. So imagine being able to extrude that silly putty into a certain thickness, encapsulating it into a film to make a pad. I hate to use the word pad because we're far more than a pad. But different size pads, and then being able to place those pads onto apparel specific to where any one sport or application might need it most. We cross just about every sport that has contact, including the equestrian world, even, where our product goes into horse blankets that go beneath Western saddles to protect the horses. We provide under protection to police and military in the form of riot gear, ballistic protection.
Wow.
We have crossover products where medical intersects sports. We have frequently made custom products for example, a young girl wants to play soccer, but she only has one kidney and wants to make sure that kidney stays protected while she's out on the soccer field.
Yes.
And so our mission is simple. It's to protect lives and reduce injuries.
That's amazing.
And it's to keep you in your game or your fight longer.
That's amazing. I want to ask you this question. We know that, not to get too technically into it, but I know the NFL had the CTE issue. Obviously, they're trying to increase technology. They're trying to say no blows to the head, no targeting, helmet-to-helmet contact. We know that. But you mentioned something that I'm very interested in hearing about. I know Aaron talked about Marshawn Lynch and how he loves the product. But if you have the technology that helps with NFL teams, that helps with NHL, I believe hockey, also, college football, and of course you would think high school football programs like the one you guys are going to deal with tonight with Marshawn Lynch, they have to know this product is out there, but how can they afford it? It sounds like it's very expensive.
So it's not. We are comparably priced with the big three. I won't name names.
Yeah.
You know who the big three are.
Yep.
But we've actually done some independent testing with a third party that demonstrates that we are actually at least 40% better at transferring energy.
Wow.
And that's what we're talking about here, transferring energy, than our competition.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this. I became Zoombang CEO officially on March 1st of this year.
Okay, congratulations.
Charlton, once you see our product, your mind cannot help but go 1,000 different directions.
Yeah.
You brought up helmets, for example.
Yeah.
One of my biggest challenges right now is to focus our team and our resources, at least for the short term, on two areas of immediate opportunity.
Yes.
And one of those areas is football. We are on just about every NFL team.
Okay.
Aaron mentioned that back in 2019, we kind of made our first hire at this rebirth of this company. We hired our sales professional, William Thompson,
yep,
who has done an amazing job for us of getting us out through the NFL and the NCAA.
Yes.
He came from a company that was a top salesman in their team sales world.
Okay.
And knew just about every equipment manager and head coach that exists within the NFL and the NCAA.
Wow.
There are many very high-profile NFL athletes who won't go on the field without our product.
Wow. That's very good to hear.
They might be sponsored by one of the big three.
Yeah.
But that product may not protect them the way they would like to be protected.
Yes.
A great example is Lamar Jackson, quarterback for the Ravens.
Superman.
He knows and loves our product and won't go on the field without it.
Wow.
He even wears it out front during his press conferences in spite of the wishes of his sponsors.
Wow.
and so the thing that we've really started doing, and we do have a very affordable price point. We're priced right within that range. And as I said, we're doing a great job with the NFL and with college teams, but we've begun hiring folks like Aaron who are regional, who can start focusing on high schools and youth leagues.
Yes.
And simultaneously, we're going to be in the big box sporting goods retailers and the e-commerce folks. So as we speak, we're doing our first launch with Hibbett Sport in every one of their stores that sell football gear.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
I expect Academy to be next.
Yep.
And I expect Dick's Sporting Goods to be next year. I wanted to make sure we had all of our I's dotted and T's crossed before I call it up Dick. They're the big gun, and I want to make sure we have it right. But we're also going to be on Fanatics.com by the end of the month with our gear.
Well, Joe,
it's a really exciting time at Zoombang.
Let me ask you this, Joe. Now, you just said that you did not want you wanted to have Mariano Rivera come up. I don't think Mariano Rivera is producing Zoombang and helping athletes all over the sports universe. So I think you're the closer for a reason. Aaron, I wasn't trying to send you to the bench, but the reason I called on the bullpen is because I wanted to bring the closer in, and unlike Pete Carroll that threw the ball on the 1-yard line instead of turning around, Morelli would have turned around and handed the ball off to Beast Mode, and they would have won Super Bowl #2. And I think you're finding out why he's a closer coming in for a Zoombang. Before we close, and I got about another minute to run with you. I appreciate you coming on to Big C Sports Podcast. I appreciate you also sharing with all the sports leagues, whether it's NFL or college football teams, about Big C Sports Podcast, because I want to help get that name out there. We just had on some contestants from the Olympics, August Wesley, and also some other players with NBA basketball. But I do appreciate that. If you can let the audience know, we're all over the world with Big C Sports Podcast. We're on Monday through Friday. Where can people go online to find out about Zoombang and the great product that it happens to be? Go right ahead, sir.
Well, you can go right on Zoombang.com, ZOOMBANG.com. One of our near-term things we're going to focus on is kind of revamping our website to illustrate more of our vision of the future, and not be a place where you can go order product.
Yeah.
But you can do that there as well.
Yeah.
And that's where you go find us.
And also, if I may,
yeah.
sir,
yeah.
For those that are connected with the high schools or little leagues, we have special pricing, bulk pricing for them to help them get it, so they don't, we don't want the moms and the dads to go to retail price. We want to give them the bulk price,
yeah.
right? You can reach me at Aaron, ARRON, Zoombang.com. And that'll get you directly to my web card where you can have some ideas of the product, watch a couple videos,
yep.
and then schedule an appointment, and I'll be there to talk to you about Zoombang.
That's very good knowledge. I do want to appreciate Mr. Aaron Gonzalez and Mr. Joe Morelli. I think we did win the World Series. Good pitch. Hit deep. Right field. Back to the wall. Caught at the wall. And so, Morelli, you thought you were going to give up a grand slam in the World Series, but you know what? The good old boys in the outfield saved your hide. How's that make you feel, sir?
I feel great. A win is a win, brother.
A win is a win, and we'll take it. Zoombang is a win.
Well, hey, I want to thank you again,
yes.
Charlton, for allowing us to speak here on Big C Sports.
Sounds good.
This is the only game and the only channel that y'all should be listening to. Check the podcast out all over the place.
Sounds good.
Absolutely.
It's the only game in town.
Thanks, Big C Sports.
Thank you, gentlemen. You guys have a super fantastic day. I'll make sure I shout out also more on Zoombang. We'll have you back on the show again. And hopefully I'll see you maybe at the World Series when San Francisco may really need to call you in out of the dugout, if that makes sense to you. So,
I'll be here. I'll keep the arm loose.
You guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you down the road. That was the great Joe Morelli and also Aaron Gonzalez with Zoombang. You'll hear it coming all over stadiums near you. We're going to take what's called the Big C Pause, also known as the Big C Timeout. In the words of the great Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back. All right, we're back from the Big C Pause, also known as the Big C Timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. There's so many apps you can follow, and I really do appreciate the way things are growing with Big C Sports all around the world. We were just covering the Olympics. We've been coming to you live from the NBA draft, and I really do appreciate the growth of Big C Sports. I want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, God said, let there be light. Open your cell phones and say it. Play Big C Sports Podcast. You will see all of our apps pop up from all over the world, and I really do appreciate the way things are growing with Big C Sports. I think I need some Zoombang. You know what? I'm going to talk to you more about Zoombang because I know when I played football over the years, there were always athletes that got hurt. Or they talk about, oh, what a great hit. You know, where there's a Jack Tatum giving somebody a hit. Or, when you think about it, some of the greatest players, you know, the minister of defense, Reggie White used to hit people. I'm sure they wish they had Zoombang. Or whether it was Dick Butkus or anybody. You know, Marshawn Lynch running the football, people wish they had Zoombang when he ran into him. The great Ronnie Lott, a lot of people wish they had Zoombang when Ronnie Lott was laying into him. I know Big C also, when he played football, a lot of guys wish they had Zoombang when he was laying into him. It's all fair in love and war. But I really appreciate the Zoombang product. If you missed any information, call 800-273-8624. That's 800-273-8624. You know, I want to lean into something with Major League Baseball, but I want to say something to the young kids out there in the world of sports. Sometimes you feel like you're all alone. And there was a story about the gentleman walking through the sand, and he said, God, I don't understand. Why have you forsaken me? And God said to him, when you were walking in the sand, those footsteps that you saw, it was I that carried you. So I want people to know when you're facing a storm and people are throwing darts at you, just keep walking because God has your back even though sometimes people will look you right in the eye and they'll do clandestine things to try to bring harm your way. Don't let it stop you. Keep flying like the eagle. Speaking of flying, the pitch. Hit deep. Right field. Back to the wall. Home run. Say hello to my little friend, the great Tony Montana from Scarface. I want to say the girls love the long ball and men love the hit it deep all fair and level. Or today's Major League Baseball schedule on beautiful Wednesday, August 4th. San Diego is at the Northern California Oakland A's, and San Diego had the better of them last night, hitting a couple of balls out of the ballpark over at the Coliseum. Tonight, pitching on the mound for San Diego is Mark Marcellon. That good old boy, he's going to be in tough because he's up against a Sterling Marte for the A's. I mean, it's all fair and level where I thought the A's would have won last night's game, but San Diego came in here and they had plans of their own. Baltimore across the country playing the New York Yankees. Them good old boys. The pitch, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run. Say hello to my little friend. I love representing Tony Montana from Scarface. The girls love the long ball, and men love to hit it deep. It's all fair and level. We're pitching for Baltimore as Matt Harvey, and that good boy is going up against Anthony Rizzo doing his thing for the New York Yankees. I'm telling you, New York is making some strides. I know they got out, kind of banged around the ballpark earlier in the season, but now they're starting to find their stride, and I think they're going to do fine coming into I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs, but who knows? They can hit the ball like anybody, and that's going to help them a lot. Also, Cleveland at Toronto, the pitch, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run. Say hello to my little friend, Juan Carlos Mejia, is the pitching for Cleveland, and then you have Corey Dickinson doing his thing for Toronto. That should be a pretty decent ball game. The New York Mets, they still have Jacob deGrom on the men, so he's not going to be on the mound. They're at the Miami Marlins. Carlos Carrasco is pitching for New York Mets, and Jesus Aguilar is pitching for Miami down in the beautiful city of Miami, Florida. I think Miami should change their name back to Florida. They never won a World Series called the Miami Marlins. They won it as the Florida Marlins. All fair and level, just a clue. My team that's picked at least to challenge for the ALCS is the Boston Red Sox. Them good boys. Boston Red Sox are at Detroit. Eduardo Rodriguez is on the mound pitching for the Red Sox. Robbie Grossman, he's doing his thing for Detroit. The pitch, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run. The girls love the long ball, and men love to hit deep. It's all fair and level war. That should be a good matchup there with Boston. Looking at Boston to take that one. I know they're right there challenging with Tampa. A lot of good baseball being played right now. They have the Los Angeles Angels. They're down there in Texas. I was just talking to Mr. Gonzalez. He's also coming to us from Texas, has an event with Zoombang tonight in the state of Texas. The Angels at the Rangers. Shohei Ohtani, he's must-see. He's 5-1 on the season. He has a 3.04 ERA against Kobe Allard. Is 2-9 on the season with a 5.23 ERA. If you watch Shohei Ohtani, he's must-see, whether he's pitching or at the bat. The pitch, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run. Say hello to my little friend, the great Tony Montana from Scarface, the great Shohei Ohtani, always doing his thing, whether he's on the mound or in the batter's box. He's must-see TV. The Kansas City Royals taking on the Chicago White Sox. You know, Tony La Russa's doing his thing as a manager. He was doing his thing when he was in St. Louis for the Cardinals. Before that, he did his thing for the Oakland A's. And now, would you believe it? The Chicago White Sox, the favorite team in Chicago. Chicago's known as the second city. And right now, they're the team that people want to see in Chicago. It's not the Cubs right now, but the Royals on the road in Chicago. Chicago's 38-18 at home. The Royals are 17-35 on the road. You make the call. If you're the bookie, I don't bet, but a lot of guys do. But you have Carlos Hernandez. He's a starting pitcher for the Royals, and Lucas Gallardo is for the home team, the White Sox, and he's 8-7 with a 3.67 ERA. I'm telling you, baseball's a great game. A lot of people are loving it. It's all fair and level war. The Braves, they're at the St. Louis Cardinals. The Braves are 26-27 on the road. The Cardinals are 30-22 at home. Drew Smiley is pitching for the away team, the Braves. And J.A. Happ is doing his thing at home for the St. Louis Cardinals. And I can't wait to see what happens in that game. It's all fair and level war. What a great place to watch a Major League Baseball game. The arch, the gateway to the West with the St. Louis Cardinals. The Cubs, we just talked about them. The great late Harry Carey would always sing, "Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. the great late Harry Carey. The Cubs are only 26. They're actually 20-36 on the road. They're going into a hornet's nest. We're a little bit smoky in Denver, Colorado, if that makes sense to you. The Rockies, they are 34-20 at home. So you make the call on that one. The way Alec Mills is pitching for the Cubs and John Gray is pitching for the home team, the Colorado Rockies, with a 3.71 ERA. Might be tough to hit up there with all that smoke going on up in the Colorado Rockies. The Houston Astros, I'm telling you, if you want to see a baseball game, you got to go down to Dodger Stadium, Chavez Ravine, the Houston Astros. This is a matchup that some people are saying has maybe the World Series written all over it. They were ended a couple of years ago, but somebody said there were a lot of flashbulbs were going off, even cameras and recording devices. No one knows where it came from. They couldn't verify or deny the flashbulbs and the cameras that were going off, but I know Houston paid a price for that. Dusty Baker, the manager, going in against Dave Roberts. In Houston, they are 31-22 away. The Dodgers are 33-19 at home. Something's got to give. Both teams have winning records when they're on the mound. The pitch, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run. Say hello to my little friend. You should see a lot of home runs being hit tonight at Chavez Ravine, Dodger Stadium. What a beautiful place to watch a baseball game. And we're talking baseball at its finest. You have the Dodgers and you have the Astros, two of the top 4 teams in all of Big C's power rankings. We're going to bring you more power rankings as we get to Friday, and when we bring you more on Big C Sports and baseball going into the weekend. What a way to watch a ball game. Great stadium, Dodger Stadium, Chavez Ravine. You have Jake Arazi. He's pitching on the mound for the Astros, and for, oh my goodness, doesn't it seem like the rich get richer? It's like Zoombang. Every product, every team, especially if you have physical competition, every team should have the Zoombang product. We just had Joe Morelli and Aaron Gonzalez talk about that. Max Scherzer's pitching on the mound. He's a Jedi Knight. He's 8-4 this season. His ERA, 2.76. Tell me he's not, with a laser beam, throwing laser beams. So that's going to be a great matchup. And it may even be a World Series preview. It's all fair and love and war. But doesn't it seem like the defending World Series champion LA Dodgers keep getting richer? I don't know, but it sure seems that way. All fair and love and war. We have another great game. It's back and forth. You have the first place San Francisco Giants in the desert taking on the Arizona Diamondbacks. Joe Morelli's down in Arizona. The pitch, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run. Say hello to my little friend. That's for Tony Montana, the great Al Pacino and Scarface. The girls love the long ball and men love to hit deep. The Giants away are 32-23 away. The Diamondbacks are only 21-33 at home. So you make the call when it comes to that. And away the pitcher is Kevin Gausman for the Giants. He's 9-5 with a 2.35 ERA. That good of boys can throw strikes. And Zach Gallen is the pitcher for the home team for the Diamondbacks. He's only 1-5 with ERA of 4.61. It's all fair and love and war. That's Major League Baseball for you, coming to you Big C Sports style. I really appreciate everything that everybody's doing in the world of sports. We're going to take what's called the Big C Pause, also known as the Big C Timeout. And when we come back, we're going to talk more about some sports that's going on all over the universe. In the words of the great Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back. All right, we're back from the Big C Pause, also known as the Big C Timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. There's so many apps you can follow, and I really do appreciate the way things are growing with Big C Sports Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Spotify. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. It's all fair and level. Where I really want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like God said in Genesis 1:3, let there be light. Open your cell phones and just say it. Play Big C Sports Podcast. You'll hear from all of our sponsors, and I really do appreciate the way things are growing with Big C Sports. We just had the Olympics coming to you from Tokyo, Japan. Last week, the great August Wesley and Anthony Wesley Jr. bringing us live coverage from the Olympics in Tokyo, Japan, as Big C Sports had the #1 podcast and the #1 podcast of choice for the Olympic champions is all fair and level. We're going to do a gold medal count for the Olympics up to date against a little bit time difference in Japan. I'm here in Northern California. And the gold medal count, China is in first position with 32 gold medals, followed by The United States with 25 gold medals. Japan is 21 gold medals, followed by Great Britain. They have 15 gold medals. Australia has 15 gold medals. Russia has 14 gold medals, followed by France with 6, Italy with 6, the Netherlands and the Republic of Korea, New Zealand, they all have 6. Cuba has 13 gold medals as the press is going off all over the country in the Olympic Village. And then you have Hungary with 4 gold medals and Brazil with 4 gold medals. All fair and level war. For Simone Biles, really appreciate her talking about how she was dealing with some emotional issues. Everybody deals with emotional issues at times. And sometimes people attack you. You know, because I keep it real on Big C Sports Podcast, I have a lady by the name of Janine Hamill. She's supposedly a stockbroker and a longtime friend of mine, but she sent me some very threatening messages. She's out of the Bay Area. They own a winery. She sent me some very threatening messages. She's a white lady. I'm a black man. And for her to do that, as she's been in my house with my spouse, and to say some very rude, threatening things to me by text, you know, threatening that she could do something to me or her friends could do something to me as a white lady, I'm a black man, says she has connections, that she's well connected. Here's a former stockbroker, a white lady, that used to say, I love you, Charles, and then had the nerve to say something negative about me and my family and my spouse. And I just wanted to put that out there because I want people to know that. And her name's Janine Hamill. You can Google who she is. William Welch Wines. Said some very disheartening things. And my mother always said, be careful of snakes, because they come with you in a smile until they love you. And some of them even try to sleep with you behind your wife's back. And I put that out there because it's true. And I even have text messages to prove that. But it's all fair and love and war. I believe you put the dirt will come out in the wash. So when people are throwing darts at you, sometimes they can't hide, because I don't believe in hiding. Out of the mouth, the heart shall speak. All fair and love and war. We're going to take what's called the Big C Pause, also known as the Big C Timeout. In the words of the great Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back. All right, we are back from the Big C Pause, also known as the Big C Timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. Really appreciate it talking to you about the NBA draft coming to you from the Barclays Center in New York City and Brooklyn just last week. Also with DC Livers, also with the Lawrence Thompson of the NBA, covers NBA, knows a lot of players of NBA. And then also Zariah Matthews, also talking about out of Disney Corporation on Big C Sports Podcast. Just had Aaron Gonzalez and Jim Matthews of Zoombang. Really appreciate that. Being a part of Big C Sports Podcast. So when things come on to you, you got to take the high road, because sometimes you can have people come up to you, and as an African American, I always tell other African American men, you got to be careful of people that smile on your face, and they grin in your face, and then they try to stab you, and they're dumb enough to put it on a text message for a police report. All fair and love and war. 2021 NFL schedule is just dropped. And here's some of the anticipated games I want to talk about coming up. And on the Big C Sports, we'll be doing a lot of coverage of NFL football games coming up. And I'm really excited about it. And a lot of people might be excited about it too. The Buffalo Bills, they were at Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's in Week 14. Talk about a game. It used to be Buffalo taking on the New England Patriots, great Tom Brady. Now they're going to be taking on the Buffalo Bills in Week 14. Josh Allen was an MVP contender last year. This year he's hoping to take the Buffalo Bills to a Super Bowl? Not so fast, my friend. I don't think they're going to get near the Super Bowl, but they will make a splash. Number 13, the Jacksonville Jaguars at the New York Jets. And that's going to be Week 16 games. The two top picks of the 2021 NFL Draft. They're going to face off in Week 16 with the first overall pick, the great Trevor Lawrence out of Clemson. And the Jacksonville Jaguars, they're traveling north to take on the second overall pick, Zach Wilson out of BYU. That good old boy, he's going to have a little bit different defenses coming at him compared to what he saw playing in BYU schedules. All fair and level where I'm wishing everybody nothing but the best. Another game, Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Los Angeles Rams, and that game's going to happen in Week 3. Talk about the game of the day, maybe the game of the week of sorts. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you're going to have a lot of big stars. You know, Stafford just left from Detroit to go over to Los Angeles. The biggest stars in football make a debut at the stadiums. I'm telling you, SoFi Stadium is beautiful down in Los Angeles. Actually, Inglewood is a big deal. It's also going to host the Super Bowl 56 in February. Big C Sports will be there. Chances are that Brady and the Buccaneers will want to be comfortable enough before they get into defending their title. That's going to be a tough game against Aaron Donald in that defense. The game 11 that I think a lot of people want to see, the New England Patriots at the Carolina Panthers Week 9. Kind of like Cam Newton goes home or back home. The great Cam Newton returns for the first time since joining the Patriots last season. While it's unclear if Newton's going to be starting for the New England Patriots in Week 9, I think he will be. The team has already drafted Mac Jones in the first round this year, but I think Newton's a former NFL MVP, played in the Super Bowl. Mac Jones played at Alabama. We will see. It's all about performance. I like Bill Belichick said he's going to go with Cam Newton as a starter, and I'm sticking with it. The touchdown, Aaron Rodgers. My goodness, this section is sponsored by Budweiser Zero. It has 0% alcohol, 100% of your game is all fair, and Level War, proud sponsors of Big C Sports Podcast. Game number 10, Green Bay Packers at the San Francisco 49ers at Levi Stadium in beautiful Santa Clara, California. I will be there. Assuming touchdown Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers can put aside any differences they had. Rodgers is back now. You know, people can fall down, but they get back up. And then sometimes people don't see eye to eye. But you don't threaten people if you don't see eye to eye with them. You simply have the guts to pick up the phone and have a conversation with them. At least that's what law enforcement says, as they will be doing some investigations in Northern California. But Rodgers has a history with San Francisco. He's also hoped that they'd be the team that drafted him out of college back in 2005. They did not, and Rodgers has been making them regret that ever since. Not really, because the last time Aaron Rodgers came to Levi Stadium, the 49ers won. Remember the NFC Championship game just a couple of years ago. So we'll see what happens. That 49er defense with both they're legit. Let's talk about Garoppolo and Trey Lance, who's going to be the starter. I think it's going to be Jimmy G. If he doesn't hold up, just like Cam Newton and Mac Jones, you know, Trey Lance with Jimmy Garoppolo, the Niners are 22-8 with Jimmy G starting quarterback. There's no need to put them on the bench and tell you if they have things go south. But they haven't gone south of him. He just had some injuries along the way. Everybody gets injured at times. No need in stopping it then. The New York Giants, number 9 on the list at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Week 11. Tom Brady does not look like the New York Giants recently saying that he would have given them up his 2 Super Bowl rings. If it meant besting the Giants back in 2007 and competing the Patriots' perfect season, now he's not going to give up anything. They would have had a perfect season had they won, but they didn't win. I mean, the Jets would have had a perfect season had they won all their games last year, right? The Buffalo Bills would have had a perfect season had they won all their games. The Las Vegas Raiders would have had a perfect season had they won all their games. The Seattle Seahawks would have won the Super Bowl had they given the ball to beast mode. It's all fair and love and war. Everybody says ifs and would-haves and could-haves. All fair and love and war. We'll see what happens in that game. Week 8, the New York Jets at the Carolina Panthers. That's number 8 pick in Week 1. The great Sam Darnold. When you think about it, Darnold was traded to the Panthers by the Jets in the offseason. Now New York had to make their way for their new quarterback of the future, Zach Wilson. In a scheduling magic, to see these two guys go against each other, USC versus BYU all over again. I don't know who's going to win that game. You just don't know. The Jets have always found a way to lose games. And when you think about it, they have a chance to prove if Darnold's going to be the real deal for Carolina. I still feel Teddy Bridgewater was a better quarterback for Carolina, but we will see. Week 7, Kansas City at Baltimore. We were just talking with Aaron Gonzalez about Zoombang, and Superman Lamar Jackson wears the Zoombang product. The Kansas City Chiefs will be at the Baltimore Ravens in Week 2, and touchdown Patrick Mahomes and Superman Lamar Jackson, who's a proud wearer of the Zoombang product, might be 2 of the most exciting players in the NFL right now. And football fans will only have to wait until Week 2 to see them face off. Jackson has yet to beat touchdown Patrick Mahomes in his 3 career meetings, but it could be time for a breakthrough in the front of the home crowd in Baltimore. It should be a packed house in Baltimore for that game. The 6th pick, the Cleveland Browns at Pittsburgh. That's Week 17. You know, Pittsburgh's a little bit depleted. The last time Cleveland traveled to Pittsburgh, the Browns ran the Steelers out of the building in the playoff scheduling. It was a shellacking, making the Browns really stand up, hold their chest out a little bit higher. So Week 17 divisional clash could have huge playoff implications for both teams. And there's no doubt that Steeler fans are eager to boo Baker Mayfield and company. All's fair and love and war. Like my mother said, you always got to rise and shine. You got to rise and shine, and out of the heart, the mouth will speak. Not everybody who says they love you, I love you, Charles, is your friend. I always tell my kids that sometimes people can betray you with a smile on their face. The OJ said, the smile on your face all the time, they want to take your place. They're backstabbers. Yeah, they say things, they sound real tall on a mean text message. They don't say things to your face. But maybe that's what they should do. If they're as decent as they say they are, they can explain that to law enforcement. Number 5 game, Buffalo Bills at Kansas City Chiefs, Week 5. The contest could give an early hint as to who the team to beat is in the AFC this year. Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes both bring plenty of star power. When you think about it, it's going to be under the lights on Sunday Night Football. I can't wait to see that game. Everybody's thinking it's going to be a great game. Buffalo Bills at Kansas City. We saw what happened last year in the playoff game, and the Kansas City Chiefs got over on top. Maybe able to get over on top again. I'm looking forward to that. The 4th pick in the Big C Sports NFL Game of the Year, Kansas City will host the Green Bay Packers. You know, when you think about it, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, they made this commercial with ketchup. That's a clue. The ketchup was red, so that means the team in red might win. All's fair in love and war. But the game is the Super Bowl that could have been if the Packers had been smart enough to turn around and hand the ball up to beast mode. Oh, I'm sorry, that goes back into the past. That was Pete Carroll and the Seattle Seahawks. They should have given the ball to beast mode. But touchdown, Aaron Donald should have had the ball go to Devontae Adams. It could have been 4th and goal, 8-yard line. Rodgers under center. There's 4 wideouts. It's 5 men front. In the snap, Rodgers rolling to his right, throws to the end zone, caught! Devontae Adams, touchdown! Green Bay Packers! But LaFleur decided to kick a field goal. It could have been a touchdown for the Green Bay Packers with Aaron Rodgers, to the best, in my opinion, one of the top 2 receivers in Devontae Adams in the NFL. But they decided to kick a field goal. I guess that's how you win games. It's all fair and love and war. But that's a game everybody's looking forward to seeing. And that's, again, Green Bay Packers at Kansas City Chiefs, Week 9. And get your VC. What that good old boy say? Get your popcorn ready. The great Terrell Owens. Get your popcorn ready for that game. Get the popcorn ready. Number 3 game for Big C Sports. Los Angeles Rams at Detroit Lions is Week 7. Like game of the week. How are the Lions game of the week? All because the biggest deal in the NFL offseason was a quarterback swap between the Rams, who Jared Goff out of Cal Berkeley took them to the Super Bowl. They lost to the Patriots. And then you have the Lions. Matthew Stafford never even won a playoff game. And he's supposed to be the savior for the LA Rams? A guy that got you to the Super Bowl is not the savior in golf. That came out of Marin Catholic High School in Kentville with the Cal Berkeley. But Matthew Stafford grew up in Texas, and he's supposed to be, with the Georgia, he's supposed to be the savior. Never won a playoff game. We'll see. I think the Detroit Lions are up. They're up against it because the Rams have a great defense, but I still feel they're going to make it about Matthew Stafford in Detroit, but it's really going to be about the defense of the Rams, and I'll see what happens in that game. Number 2 pick. We heard some good old boys down in Texas, the great Aaron Gonzalez. Are you ready for some football? How about the Cowboys? They think there's only one team in the NFL, and that's the Dallas Cowboys, the great Aaron Gonzalez. All fair and level war. In the number 2 pick, the Dallas Cowboys at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Week 1. That's Big C Sports Game of the Week. It's actually Week 1. What a season opener as the reigning Super Bowl champion, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're going to host the first game of the 2021 NFL season. It's going to be on Thursday night, September 9th. It's coming to meet in Tampa Bay with the Dallas Cowboys, who should be led by the great quarterback Dak Prescott, coming back off the mend. We know he had the leg break last season, but he's back looking very good in practice. It's going to be Prescott's first game back since suffering that devastating injury in 2000 City. Like, welcome back, Carter. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. I don't sing it as well as they did, but welcome back. What about an indoctrination? They're going to welcome you back to touchdown Tom Brady and the defending Super Bowl champion, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Might be a long night in Dallas. What do they drink down in Dallas? Moonshine. They're going to have the moonshine poured in Dallas after that game, because that defense for Tampa, they are legit, and they're returning everybody. It's all fair in love and war. And I'm going to tell you that the number 1 pick for Big C's Sports NFL football games, everybody's heard about it. It's on the East Coast. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the New England Patriots, Week 4. The prodigal son returns. The great Tom Brady won 6 Super Bowl championships in New England. It was a fumble, the tuck rule. I know they cheated the Raiders, so he really should have 5 Super Bowls. But hey, they didn't count it. Just like the immaculate reception, that wasn't counted either. Franco Harris picked that ball up off the ground. I know that because a lot of the Oakland Raiders told me so. So the Raiders don't lie. It's all fair and level war. But after serving the cornerstone of the most dominant dynasty in NFL history, the great touchdown Tom Brady and touchdown Rob Gronkowski joined the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last year, and they then added yet another Super Bowl ring to the trophy case. Week 4 will be the duo's first trip back to New England since leaving the franchise, making this the addition of Sunday Night Football and can't-miss television. It's all fair and love and war. There's so much about football that I love, and everybody, you got to see this game, because if it's Cam Newton, you know, he's not well loved in New England compared to Tom Brady, and I think Tom Brady's going to get a standing ovation. I really do believe he'll get a standing ovation in that game at Gillette Stadium, and why would he not? The man spent 19 years. He got there because when they were playing, there's a good old boy quarterback that did not have Zoombang, and he got hit and knocked out of the game, and then that launched the career for the great Tom Brady. All fair and love and war. And I think Zoombang would be present at that game in Foxborough, Massachusetts, with New England taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm looking forward to it. The thing I love about sports is everybody has their own opinion about who the better teams are and how can one team keep winning year after year and other teams keep losing year after year. But Tom Brady, the storyline is really Tom Brady returns home to the eye of the storm in New England. And yes, he will get cheered. There will be a standing ovation at first. And then I think the crowd will turn on him like I've had some lifelong friends turn on me. You know, COVID made a lot of people crazy. How's someone going to try to threaten a man that has protection? You know, everybody has families they want to protect, if that makes sense to you. But sometimes mainstream think they can just make a threat to you, and you're supposed to just fall in line. Doesn't make any sense. The dirt will come out in the wash. It always does. I want to turn to this game again, because wouldn't it be something if Cam Newton leads New England to a win over Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Isn't that something? Because the crowd's going to be kind of mixed feelings at the beginning. But they're going to change their tune. But LeBron James went back to Cleveland. Cleveland, this is for you. When he went back to Cleveland from Miami, he got booed a lot. They didn't cheer him at all. When he came back to Cleveland, you know, they were burning LeBron James' jersey. As an African-American man, I know how he feels when mainstream turns their back on you. They burn his jersey. No one burned my jersey. But people do kind of say things that they think are going to be hurtful. But I want to say this. I always rise and shine. No weapons formed against me shall prosper. Isaiah 54:17. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. I always speak God's word into the book. People should repent and apologize when they do wrong before it's too late. Handcuffs fit 2 hands. Don't matter what color you are. Think about that the next time you want to threaten somebody. I want to say that should be a great game. Hopefully the crowd will be respectful for Tom Brady and also respectful for the home team, New England Patriots. Even though they're going to be cheering for both quarterbacks, I believe. We'll just see. Bill Belichick may have knots in his stomach, or as Michael Jackson said, "You give me butterflies," the great Michael Jackson. And he sang about butterflies back in the day. He also sang, "I'm bad, I'm bad, I'm really, really bad." Like my voice sounds really, really bad. Trying to do imitation of the great Michael Jackson. It's all fair and level war. We all got to look at that man in the mirror. I want to close out today on Big C Sports Podcast telling you that should be a great game. That's Big C's thoughts for NFL football coming up in 2021. We'll be part of more shows doing NFL football, all fair and level war. College football, we have talked about some of the top teams that are going to be playing this year. And just to run down the top 10, the preseason top 10, Big C's thoughts. Again, it's just a thought. It's preseason. Number 1, Alabama. They finished 13-0 last year. Number 2, Clemson. They finished 10-2 last year. Followed by number 3, Oklahoma. They finished 9-2 last year. Number 4, Ohio State. They were 7-1 last year with the COVID-shortened season. Number 5, Georgia. They were 8-2 last year. Number 6, Iowa State. They were 9-3 last year. The Cyclones. Number 7, Texas A&M. They were 9-1 last year out of the SEC. Number 8, preseason, North Carolina. They were 8-4 last year. Number 9, Oregon Ducks. They were 4-3 last year in the Pac-12 with a COVID-19 shortened season. And number 10, Notre Dame. It's all fair and love and war. I'm looking forward to it all and all the great things that are going on with Big C Sports. We had Olympic coverage from Tokyo, Japan just last week. We had live from the NBA draft at the Barclays Center just last week, DC Lyris with Big C Sports. We also had NBA basketball players on this week. Hopefully we'll have a sit-down with the great Steph Curry of the Golden State Warriors. And that $215 million contract is all fair and love and war. Everybody be safe out there as the Olympics are still going on. As we always say, back in the day, there's a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, you sting like a bee, you rumble, young man, rumble. With all you've got to use, how can you lose? And as I always say, my mom always says, there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. No man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage. No one should ever have to go through that on their own. Always reach out and try to get some help from somebody going through threats, whether they're physical or verbal. It's all fair and love and war. You can follow Big C Sports every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide when you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America, iHeartRadio Podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify is all over the place. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.